Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. My name is Honorine, and today I'm with Caroline Hackett, who is pursuing a PhD in history. Caroline, welcome and thank you for being with me today.
Hi, thanks so much. Happy to be
Let's
here.
start with a little introduction.
Sure. So I completed my undergraduate degree at the University of Florida, where I studied political science and history, and I also minored in European Union studies. And while I was in that program, I studied abroad in Belgium, Brussels specifically, and I got to fall in love with Europe and European history and European institutions during that time. And I think that really created a love for international travel and research that would come back into my life now. After I graduated from my undergrad, I worked in social work for a little bit, and then I taught high school in my hometown, Jacksonville. So I taught European history, and I taught at the AP and Cambridge level, which is basically a way for high school students to get college credit while they're in high school. And so I was able to teach very high achieving students and, subject matter at a really high academic level. And after 3 years of that, I wanted to go back to grad school. And I found out that Florida State University has this excellent program called the Institute for Napoleonic and French Revolutionary Studies. It's the INFR is the acronym. And I cold emailed my future advisor. I just sent him an email out of the blue and I said, hey, I love the French Revolution. I'm a teacher right now. I'm interested, what would I have to do? Am I a candidate for your program? And he called me that day and we spoke for 3 hours.
3 hours, wow.
And he invited me to come, visit / sort of interview, with the program. And so I left my teaching job and came to Florida State University, where I completed my master's in winter of 2019. And then I went directly into my doctorate the following spring. So I've been a PhD student since spring of 2020. I went through my comprehensive exams, became ABD, and I actually just got back from my 6-month research trip in France, where I was conducting archival research for my dissertation. And so right now I'm teaching a 90-person class at Florida State, and I'm in the beginning steps of writing my dissertation.
Wow, so much to say.
Yeah.
So interesting. I love your journey.
Thank you.
But since you just talked about your research trip, let's talk more about your research. So you work on married women in the south of France, around the French Revolution time. Can you tell me more about it? What do you look at?
Yes, absolutely. So something that's important in my field is some people think that we know everything about the past and that, history is just all written, but that nothing could be further from the truth, right? And so what historians do is we revise upon what other historians have about their arguments. It's kind of like archaeology. We know more about dinosaurs now than we did 20 years ago. The dinosaurs have still been dead, long and gone, right? But we learn more about the past. And so what I have to do in order to have a compelling dissertation is have an intervention that builds upon or revises what other historians have said. And so there's sort of this assumption made by the historians that have preceded me about gender and property in France. And there's this assumption that if a woman, that women couldn't own property like men could. And there's this other assumption that maybe they could in some circumstances, but when they got married, they lost all of their rights to their husband and just sort of became his chattel, right? Just, okay, they lose everything. If they brought property into the marriage, that's all gone. It's his, he can do whatever he wants. But I'm complicating that because the south of France was governed by Roman tradition and Roman law. And indeed, when you're in the south of France and you walk around, you can see these Roman ruins everywhere. So it's really cool to see that palpable remnant of Roman control. And Roman law was different than the customary law that influenced the north. And so my sort of intervention is that these excellent historians that came before me have sort of taken the custom of the North and decided that that applied to all of France, when in reality, things are much more complex. And so I'm looking at these women that are married in the South, but they don't lose their property. And in fact, they're engaging in the marketplace, they're owning property, they're owning small amounts of property, big amounts of property. They're single, they're married, they're all over notarial records. There are even female lords. So like, you know, we don't think of that when we think of nobility and who is at the top of society. So I'm digging up these really, really interesting women.
So interesting. And it makes me think about literature. Do you look at literature, or do you look only at the archives? Because I feel this false assumption is also due to literature.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't studied literature too much, but that's a great, I mean, I should definitely look into it, because yeah, I mean, I think these are definitely perpetuated through culture, these ideas, right? And I think the Western world has sort of flattened, you know, the medieval and early modern periods into just, well, it must have just sucked for women overall. But women aren't a monolith, right? Of course, like you and I may live in the same state or city and have extremely different experiences, you know. And so I think that's part of what I'm trying to do is, yeah, I definitely think there's culture and literature, and just simplified history has kind of taken a group of people and decided, you know, things must have just been this way for them. But I'm showing that that's not the case. And I'm showing really that actually it was so common for women to own property and sell property that it was like nothing to them. Like people weren't, it was almost mundane in the South, which almost makes it more remarkable that nobody's pointed it out. You know, like it's happening every day, all the time, in these notarial registers that I'm going through.
So you're going through like all these archives from the south of France, or do you also look at the north so that you can like compare and contrast the two areas?
So that's like the next step. So my research trip, I was based in Montpellier, and so I'm looking at like the southern Languedoc, and I need to have a counterbalance. And so that's something that's going to be like my next step once I'm crunching a lot of numbers and translating a lot of documents right now. But I definitely need to take one or two regions from the north and show, you know, to sort of prove that what I'm showing is exceptional, not the norm, not everywhere.
Oh, so you know that it's exceptional and not the norm.
So like in the South, it's the norm for the women to be owning property. They don't lose the property right when they get married, etc. They can inherit property and titles. But I'm also trying to show that that's not the case everywhere. And it has its roots in the Roman laws.
Oh, that's fascinating. How did you get into that topic?
You know, it's my advisor has written, Dr. Rafe Laffar, my advisor, who's incredible, has written a lot about property, and I really love gender. And so it's kind of like our two interests like come together really interestingly. It's a good like meshing of our interests, and I think the project like bears both of our emblems on it.
So you mentioned earlier that you were a teacher in high school in Jacksonville, and then you decided to leave this teaching job, which the way you describe it sounded fascinating and great, because you were teaching this high achieving students. Why did you decide to leave then and to pursue a graduate degree?
Yeah, great question. And it's a risk. And sometimes I ask myself that too when things are getting tough, but it's okay. I think it was worth it. No, I love grad school and I'm really happy with the decision I made, but the truth is I left something that I was comfortable doing and was working really well, because I'm a challenge seeker. I'm a go-getter. I'm not going to stop. I don't know when to stop. And so, you know, that job was awesome. I loved it. And I wanted to do it like at an even higher level. And right now I'm literally teaching the, you know, university equivalent of the class I taught then. And so I guess in my mind, it was like, I love this and I love teaching, but like, how do I do more? I kind of felt like I beat that level of the video game. That makes sense.
Yes. So then what's the next level?
I would love to teach like the long 19th century European history or a class on the French Revolution at a small liberal arts college. That's my dream, is like have a couple of classes, smaller classes at a university, or sorry, a smaller liberal arts college. But I have plan B, plan C, plan D because of the way the job market works.
But you don't want to go back to high school?
I'm not above it at all. In fact, I think I'd be happy teaching community college. I think I'd be happy teaching high school. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm doing this because I want to make a mark on this field. It's some people I think get the PhD like for the prestige, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of in it for that too. Like, but like I am not like, I must be a professor or I'll never work again kind of person. I'm pretty flexible, and I think as long as I get to have a job that's social and deals with history in some way, I will be happy. I don't think I would be happy. I don't think being like an archivist in the back room, like sorting through folders forever, not talking to anyone would be my ideal job, but anything else is fair game.
Oh, well, that's great. I think in today's society, it's very important to be open-minded.
Yeah.
And besides research and school, what did you like to do?
Oh yeah, so I love to thrift shop and vintage shop, and I'm really into like sustainable fashion and wardrobe. So, and I also have a side interest in fashion history. So it kind of goes hand in hand, and like the history of couture fashion and all of that. And so like I'm really interested in. I love vintage shopping. That's one of my favorite pastime. And let's see, I have a dog who I love. His name's Bismarck. I named him after a historical figure. And let's see, I love to travel. Like I said, I studied abroad, and I've been to like, I lost count, but around 30 countries so far, and I just travel whenever I can. I play guitar. I play the electric guitar and piano. So yeah.
Oh, you definitely keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
And what about thrift shopping in France?
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I did it all the time. Montpellier, there's this Sunday market, like antique and thrift market. And I would spend hours there every morning and just like grab coffee and walk around, and you can haggle with the people. It's a great way to practice your French. They have all kinds of ridiculous things like that people would pay triple, quadruple times for, beautiful silk Hermes and Dior scarves, and just lovely things. And also really cool, like, artifacts, really, things that you think might belong in a museum, but people are just out there selling like watches. I remember I bought my little brother a birthday present, and it was like a watch that someone found on the ground after like a battle from World War II. Like they're just like, yeah, so it's really a historian and a vintage clothing lover's dream. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that's your world.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. It was great to know more about your research and your passion for thrift shopping.
Thank you for having me.